Hi, it's Robert. In this first video blog, I, the imaginary Robert, will be interviewing the real Robert at his home in Averill Park, New York. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning, imaginary me.
Can you tell me why you're making this video blog today?
Sure, it's a work habit of mine whenever I start a project to write down a brief overview of what I want to accomplish, or at least of what the grounded ideas are that I want to be working with. That might seem a little pedantic, but it helps me focus. This clip takes the place of that overview. I guess it's also a pilot to test whether the idea of an interview with my imaginary me has any appeal.
Okay then, let's begin. You've been looking at video blogging for the last week, and now you're ready to begin your own video blog. Can you tell me what appeals to you about video blogging?
Well, of course, I've just become aware of it, so I can't say that I fully understand the medium. However, I like the creative process. I've always had an interest in television. As an undergraduate at Syracuse University, I took all of the introductory courses in TVR, television radio, and I would have probably pursued a career in television if I hadn't been shut out of courses in one semester because of the foolish way Syracuse registered its students for classes at the time, and because of my own youthful wimpishness, I'm sure. So video blogging, in a very large sense, is me returning to a very early interest in communication through broadcast technology.
Technology must be an important part of it, would you say?
Yes, definitely. I like the technology that's involved in it, having worked in technology for most of my professional life. And of course, now the very sophisticated technology that's required to make videos is readily available at a relatively low cost.
Then would you say that
And for example, I was just looking at the cost of video cameras this morning on the net and saw that you can buy a fairly decent portable video camera that can play for 30 to 90 minutes for as little as $200. That's an amount of money, I would guess, that fits into the amount of disposable income that most single working people in this country have. Of course, that's not everything you need, but it's the basic element.
and what sort of content would you present?
Well, I like hearing informational summaries on a wide variety of topics, so I would follow suit.
As an educational medium, then?
Yes. I'm definitely interested in it as an educational medium, as communicating ideas. My daughter Ariel, who's that's her photograph there. My darling daughter paid me a large compliment in reading some of the materials that I have up on my website, in saying that she felt I had a lot to say. Well, I hope I have a lot to say. Uh, it's a lot to say about my experiences working as a technology manager in large departments in government. And I would like to communicate a lot of that stuff so that others can go forward and learn from my experience. So, in that respect, I would like video blogging to be an educational medium for me to convey the things that I've learned, not only in the area of technology, but focusing heavily on my experiences in technology.
But isn't the notion of video blogging about the spontaneous cinema verite, reality television kind of programming?
Maybe so. At least many video blogs have just that appeal. But I don't think that you can say that video blogging must be spontaneous. After all, in its original form, blogging is about written communication, and most blogs I've read are very definitely not stream of consciousness writing exercises. Many are not written well, but most of them have clearly been planned and edited. Unlike text blogs, however, video blogs don't lend themselves to interactive editing. So just because it's more work to edit a video stream, I think we see more extemporaneous material on video, and I like watching it. It's interesting to see the unedited Ryan Hodgson eating a salad and see Richard Bluestein make coffee while he distractedly talks about whether he has the right sound levels on his recording. I wouldn't want clips like that to disappear from the net. But there's only so much of a day in the life clips that you can watch without falling asleep. So you find yourself watching 30 seconds and clicking next on the aggregator because you don't want to listen to it. You want to listen to the snippet and move on.
So then you don't mind if your material is phony or contrived?
You asked me that question because you know how much I detest phoniness, but also because you know that my delivery has been criticized by those closest to me as just that, typed up, artificial, and delivered. Okay, I accept some of that. However, my goal is to have natural delivery, and if I were not so on the edge all the time, maybe my delivery would be more natural. But I want to distinguish between natural delivery and well-planned, well-thought-out content. My interest is in communicating ideas in easy-to-understand, appealing ways. To do that requires structure, and unless you're one of the few remarkable people who can speak extemporaneously with wonderful clarity on any subject, you need to do some work beforehand. Now that might result in some artificiality creeping into the finished work. Most of us are not going to be great writers and great presenters and great technicians as we put together our personal video blogs. There will be failings. But if the goal is to communicate ideas, a kind of 60-second documentary as my goals are, then you have to use that 60 seconds as efficiently as possible, and that requires pre-planning.
I see. What sort of things would you want to cover in 60 seconds?
So if you look at my website, you'll find that I cover the horizon with topics from law to science to music to cooking, the visual arts. I don't do all of these things as well as I'd like to, but writing a web page and making video blogs is a way to build and grow personally. Two things come to mind as I answer your question that I think are relevant. And anyway, I'd like to get them out before I forget them. One is something my high school English teacher said to me, and the other is advice that a couple of my college professors gave me. Miss Kroll, I can't remember her first name at the moment. Miss Kroll, who was a woman near retirement when I was in her class, and a wonderful, wonderfully informed individual, warned us all once that as we grow older, our interests will narrow. Don't think, she said, that you're going to have all of these different interests when you're my age. Well, I loved that teacher. I was just her classes were rich. You know that you learned Shakespeare, and it was senior year, and she's just an incredibly wonderful, wonderful person. But I found that she was wrong on that account. My interest in different topics and different areas of discourse have broadened, if anything, as I've grown older. I think that with age and more experience, you're able to dig deeper into a lot of topics than you can when you're younger and distracted by more sensual matters. Not that I don't have a sensual life, but I think that your capacity to explore more and more interests expands as you grow older. It doesn't contract. Or maybe it's just that the internet has become available to me beginning in the 1970s, the mid-70s, and it's grown and expanded more and more. So there's more content available, more easily available. I used to spend long hours in libraries, but you can spend longer hours surfing the net. At any rate, Today there is a great ocean of topics to explore, and I would like to explore many, many of them.
Um, and the advice of your college professors?
Um, well, it was my good friend and mentor, Agahinanda Bharati, a very controversial figure at Syracuse in those times. Uh, he was an Austrian who spent World War II in the German army in India. I think I have that right. Was the German army in India? I don't know. And who later took up the saffron robes and became a Buddhist monk, hence his adopted name. Anyway, it was a Geha who said to me that if I wanted to make advances in my own discipline, I was studying to be an academic anthropologist at the time, that I should read other men's books. It's quote of his, read other men's books. And by that he meant that I should read the new ideas that appear in the journals of other disciplines to see if they can be brought into my area of study, to see whether they provide insights that help solve problems in my primary area of focus. So the message here is to read widely, um, but not just to be well read and well informed, but to draw on the thinking of other people in other fields of study. And that is what I'd like to do in my video blogging. Treat as many topics as might arise, although they might not be my primary area of interest, but to draw on the vastness that's out there.
Was there another professor who gave you advice?
Oh, yes. Hans Buchler, then a young and very, very tall Bolivian professor of anthropology. Hans advised that the best way to learn about a subject is to teach a course in it. You know, there's this idea that university professors are lifetime experts in the course material that they present. That's why you go to their courses, to the font of wisdom. In fact, and I guess especially in a world where information changes so rapidly, where yesterday's books and ideas are nonsense when examined through today's lenses, you have to teach material that you've just learned yourself. So Hans was advising that the best way to learn is through the discipline that's imposed on you by having to communicate fresh ideas to students. That's important in this context, in the context of video blogging, because that's a part of what I want to do with my video blogs. I might have a lot to say based on my life experiences, but I think I have more to say by combining my life experiences with a look at new and fresh topics. So learning while I expound seems to be a good method to use. And it's important to note that teaching a class, creating a video blog, especially if you're going to impose a deadline on yourself, imposes that same kind of discipline. Um, so it helps you learn it because you're driven by the fact that you're communicating to other people.
Are you thinking about developing courseware? Are you really talking about video education rather than video blogging?
There could be digital courseware in my future, but that's not what I have in mind just now. No, it's blogging. It's the blogging medium that I find interesting just now. Short, informal overviews, not rants. Rants are a little shallow for me, but not treatises or detailed expositions. I think if you want to learn the details of a particular topic, then you have to resort to the written word. When you're reading a text, you can reread over and over again the difficult paragraph until you understand it. That's not practical with a video presentation, just as it's difficult to edit when you record a video presentation. So it's difficult to keep returning to the same clip when you're trying to learn, when you're trying to read a video presentation.
Thank you. Any last words?
No, that about sums up what I have in mind. This presentation pretty much stands for my project overview. One more thing, maybe. This is a very bland introduction, In terms of the creative style that I would like to achieve in many of these presentations, what I have in mind is more of a dialogue between me and my imaginary me, which is you. I hope to be brave enough to have you ask me those inner probing questions that only one's own self can ask, and to make a fair response to them. It occurs to me that that might be more therapeutic, have more therapeutic value for me than interest for a general office, but blogs tend to be a little narcissistic anyway. Did I say little?
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, imaginary me.
This has been Robert Vitello talking to himself on a Sunday afternoon in Averill Park, New York. Good day.